All right, fourth quarter, here we go. We're almost done for the year. One more quarter left, 2 weeks till spring break. We can do this. We're going to do some polynomial functions. We're going to look at classifying polynomials. So we're not going to do a lot with the graphing part, but we are going to add, subtract, and multiply polynomials. But today what we're going to do is classify the polynomials by their degree and the number of terms. So let's look at the top of this sheet. A polynomial is the sum or difference of many monomials. So a monomial is just one term. So when we're talking about polynomials, we're talking about multiple terms. So the highest exponent of a polynomial is called the degree. So the highest exponent is called the degree. And remember where the exponent is, it's the power. So I'm going to show you, but I don't want you to get too confused. I'm going to show you what the standard form is when we're talking about polynomials. It's a little bit confusing when you're looking at it, but I'm just going to show it to you. So it starts with a to the nth, x to the n, plus a to the n minus 1, x to the n minus 1, plus a to the n minus 2, x to the n minus 2. And that continues all the way down. So what that is saying is that the highest exponent is always going to come first when we're putting it in standard form. And I'm going to show you what this, we're going to get into what that means. But just know that the number in front is the leading coefficient. So that is important to know what the leading coefficient is. Because we're going to put these in order, but the leading coefficient doesn't necessarily tell us the order. So the leading coefficient is the first number, the number in front. And coefficients are always real numbers. They're always a whole number, or it could be a fraction, could even be a decimal if we're working with decimals. And then a constant, remember, and I'm just going to write this out to the side. A constant means there are no variables attached. So we talked about this earlier this year, but a constant is no variables are attached. Okay? So again, we're not gonna worry about we're gonna work with standard form, but I don't want you to worry about the a to the n, x to the n, a to the n minus 1, x to the, I'm gonna show you what that means, but this is just the formal form of what this means. So this says, write the polynomials below in standard form. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to look at the exponents. So we have a 5, we have a 3, we have a 2, and remember, if there's not an exponent by a letter, if there's not an exponent, it's a 1. So what we want to do is we want to put this in order from the highest exponent down to the least exponent, or to a constant. So our last number in the order is always going to either be the least exponent or just a constant, so no exponent at all. So if we were to rewrite this, I'm looking first at my highest exponent, and my highest exponent in this case is the 5. So my 5, whatever my 5 is attached to, is going to come first, and that's going to be this whole term right here. So that's going to be first. So it's going to be negative k to the 5th. And then my second one, I don't have anything to the 4th power, but I do have a negative 2k to the 3rd power. So that's going to come next, negative 2k to the 3rd. And then I have a k to the 2nd, and the number in front of that is 1/4 k to the 2nd. So that's going to come next, and that's a plus 1/4 k to the 2nd. And then I'm going to have my plus 8k to the 1st. To the 1st, or just plus 8k. And then finally my constant, which is minus 1. So again, all I did was put my exponent, the constant that my exponent is attached to, or the variable that it is attached to, in order. So 5, 3, 2, 1, and then there's no exponent with the negative 1. That's the constant. So let's look at B. My exponents again here are, remember that this would have a 1. So my exponents are 1, 3, 2, and then my constant is 8. And I just want to put these in order from greatest exponent to least exponent. Don't pay attention to the numbers in front of the variables. We're paying attention to the exponents. So let's put this in order. So we have, our first one is going to be the 7b to the 3rd. So we have 7b to the 3rd. And then we have negative b to the 2nd. So minus b to the 2nd, 8b to the 1st, so, and that's a positive 8b to the 1st, or just 8b, and then finally my constant plus 8. There is no variable there. So again, my variables are listed in from greatest to least. So 3, 2, 1, and then nothing. Okay, let's do one more here, and I'm going to highlight my exponents. I have a 3, a 5. My 2 doesn't have any exponent or any variable with it, so it's going to be my constant. So that tells me it's going to be the last one that I write. And then my y, remember, has a 1, so we'll go ahead and highlight that 1 as well. So I'm going to write these in standard form, which means it's from the greatest exponent to the least. So I would get my negative 9 y to the 5th comes first. Even though that's a negative 9, we're only looking at the exponents, negative 9 y to the 5th. Then we have 5y to the 3rd, so that's a plus 5y to the 3rd. And negative 5y, negative 5y plus 2. So again, these are in order from greatest to least. 5, 3, a 1 there, and then a nothing next to my 2. Okay, so that's standard form. That's how we're going to arrange every single time we have to put these in order. So the next thing we need to do is we need to classify by degree and number of terms. So we're going to look right here. So we're classifying by degree and number of terms. So when we have 0 to degree, so that means there is nothing, there's no variable, and I'm going to, let's see how we want to, so this means, I'm going to make a little note, no variable. So 0, the degree is going to be a constant. So like when we talked about our constants, we talked about the 2 up here, the 8, the -1. Those are our constants. We don't have a variable. There's no degree. So a 0 degree is just a constant. Now, if we have 1 degree, so that's just my x by itself or my y by itself where I've added that 1. So for instance, the 8b to the first, I added that 1. The degree of that is going to be called linear. It's a linear degree. That's when it's to the first power or there's no power written. Then we're going to have to the second degree. So that's like up here we had -b to the second degree. So when it's to the second degree, we call that a quadratic. Degree. And then when we have it to the third power, we call that cubic. To the fourth power, we call that quartic. Q-U-A-R-T-I-C. And then when we have it to the fifth power, it's a quintic. Q-U-I-N-T-I-C. So these are the names or the classifications of my degrees. These are what those are called. Now, when we are talking about terms, so terms refers to the number. So this is a term. This is a term. This is a term. This is a term. So that one has 4 terms in it. So when we're talking about terms, if there's only one term, we call that one a monomial. When we have 2 terms, we call it a binomial. And then when we have 3 terms, we call it a trinomial. And anything of 4 or more terms, so if it has 22 terms, if it has 5 terms or 4 terms, we call that a polynomial. Okay, so 4 or more is considered a polynomial. Okay, so I'm going to stop here because I can only record up to 15 minutes for YouTube to transfer my video. So I'm going to stop here and then we're going to come back together and finish the notes here in the next video.